Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Good morning, /x/. I'm usually a lurker, but I just remembered a story that my mother told me when I was much younger. I never knew my mother was so good at telling stories, and it creeped me the hell out when she first told me. I'm calling it a story because I'm a very skeptical person, but my mother swears it's true. Make of it what you will. My parents immigrated to Canada right after I was born. Where my parents are from, Christianity, especially Catholicism, is quite prominent. My mother was raised as a Seventh-day Adventist, but she doesn't practice any of it. We don't go to church at all, and we don't really pray or anything like that. I'm agnostic myself. The town my mother lived in when she was younger was predominantly Catholic. I have an aunt. She's not really an aunt, but we call her that because she's a close friend of our family and my mother. At the time, she was married to her first husband. My mother told me about how this aunt's husband would wake up in the middle of the night, look beside him in bed, and find my aunt missing. He would assume she was in the bathroom or in the kitchen because when he woke up in the morning, she would be there again. But this happened enough times that he finally asked her where the hell she would go in the middle of the night. My aunt wouldn't tell him, so one night he went to bed as usual, but when he woke up, he stayed up to wait for her to come back. It's hot enough to leave the windows open at night, so he sat back and watched the door, waiting. Didn't see anything for a while, so he started to doze off. Then he heard what sounded like something rubbing against the windowsill. He looked towards the open window and found my aunt levitating into the open window, feet first. She goddamn floated into bed, and no matter how hard her husband tried, she wouldn't wake up. At this point in my mother's story, I was stifling snickers because it sounded stupid as hell and totally unbelievable. But I let her continue, because my mom never told me stories like this. In the morning, her husband asked her where she floated off to in the middle of the night. She told him some story about a woman in white taking her to a graveyard. The White Lady, or Kaperosa, is a well-known Malto in the country. But I've been to that town before, and it's either no one told me about one or she went somewhere far because there was no graveyard that I saw around there. Apparently, the White Lady took my aunt to her mother's grave. My aunt's mother has been dead for some time. Anyways, my aunt eventually stopped leaving in the middle of the night, but my family talked about it a lot. Said my aunt had bad vibes around her. Why would she say that? If it was true, why would the White Lady be taking her? Anyways, I didn't believe this part of the story because I can't help but snicker a bit when I think of my aunt levitating out of windows in the middle of the night. Her husband, though, is dead now. Nobody has told me the clear cause of his death. No one said it was natural. Apparently, he was knifed in the throat by a mugger, probably unrelated. I was clearly unimpressed with my mother's story, but she continued, and I kind of wish she didn't because it scared the shit out of my 13-year-old self. My aunt was casually religious. Went to church on Sundays, didn't really pray at dinner until someone offered, etc. But our town accused her of being possessed by demons. She would fly into sudden attacks and throw shit around her house. Once she climbed onto her roof and vomited all over herself. My mom said she displayed an unusual strength during these times. She apparently tried to heave a dresser onto her sister once. Her family got sick of her shit, so they called a priest to exorcise her. Since my aunt was strong and they couldn't hold her down by themselves, her siblings, 2 brothers, 1 sister, tied her to the bed. The priest put a white cloth over her face and started trying to talk to the demon. I'm not describing it very well because I don't entirely remember what my mother said, and I have no idea how exorcisms work. But he tried to talk to it. At first, my aunt was just screaming. Her eldest brother told her to shut up. She shut up. My mom wasn't smiling now. She was smiling when she told me the levitating story because it was pretty silly, and I think she was just recounting some family rumors or whatever. Because she was sitting cross-legged on the couch, She was staring at her feet now and picking at the couch pillows. My mother wasn't there for the exorcism, but my aunt's siblings told her about it. My aunt shut up. She laid still on the bed with the white cloth covering her face. I bet her eldest brother regretted the shit out of telling her to shut up because the whole room went quiet, including the priest, who was waiting for some kind of response from the demon inside her. I'm not religious, /X/, but religion-based horror gives me the fucking creeps. When I watched The Exorcist and the exorcism of Emily Rose, I didn't sleep for weeks. I'm still skeptical, but the part that my mom told me next made me shiver. My aunt's head started shaking from side to side, real slow. Her chest started rising and she took deep breaths. Then she started talking. Her siblings started screaming. It's not really what she said at first that made them scream. It was her voice. Her voice was not her voice. It was her mother's voice. Refer back to where I said my aunt's mother has been dead for some time. Her real voice probably just sounded like her mom's, I told my mom. No, my mom said. I knew her mom when she was still alive. I know her voice. Your aunt does not sound like that. My aunt's sister tore the white cloth from her face before the priest could stop her. Her eyes were wild, bloodshot. There was spit running down her chin and on the cloth. She started screaming again, but what she was screaming made my siblings start bawling. My aunt, in their mother's voice, started individually telling each sibling every wrong thing they did since their mom died. My mom didn't tell me what they were since they were close family friends, but one brother was apparently accused of wanting to cheat on his wife and stealing a neighbor's dog. So the priest continued with his exorcism and she never pulled that shit again. I wish this was the end of the story because the next part scared me the most. There is an audio recording of this event. One of the brothers sneaked a cheap tape recorder into the room while the exorcism was taking place. They, including my mother, listened to the tape after the exorcism. The tape isn't unusual at first. By isn't unusual, I mean all you can hear is my aunt's guttural screams and her siblings and the priest yelling at her. Almost halfway through the recording, what sounds like guitar strings starts playing, quietly at first. It sounds like someone is in the next room, playing these tuneless, rhythmless chords. There are only 5 people in the room. The 2 brothers, the sister, the priest, and my crazy aunt. However, a 6th voice starts speaking. Or rather, singing. My mother described it as the oldest voice I have ever heard. A croaky male, singing some old song in their language to the tuneless random strums of a guitar. He sings like this for a few minutes when the guitar abruptly stops. The old man speaks for the last time. I know you are recording me. As soon as she heard this on the tape, my mother says she left the room. I'm sorry to say, /X/, that I do not have this supposed recording. I asked my mother where it was and she said it was in the town, in a drawer somewhere. I told her I would have to listen to it myself to see if her story was real. As I said this, I did a little lighthearted laugh. But she looked me dead in the eye and said, "No, you won't. You won't ever listen to it." I was in that town about 5 years ago. I asked my uncle, a real uncle, if he knew where the tape was and if I could listen to it. He gave me the same response. No, you will never ever listen to that tape. If someone asks you if you want to listen to it, or if you want to have it, refuse. Do you understand? Don't ask anyone about this again. What happened to my aunt? When my parents immigrated to Canada, we were the first in our family to do so. We have no relatives or close family friends in this country, except her, of course. She moved here shortly after we did. I used to see her at parties and stuff when I was younger. However, I haven't seen her in years. She's nice, but I have to admit, she is a little strange.
I used to deliver pizza. Sometimes that took me down some dark, lonely roads. On one of those roads one night, I was driving and saw someone in my headlights. A woman wearing a white dress walking in a stumbling way. Dress looked kinda bloodied up. I stopped to see if she needed help. Dumbest thing ever. One look at her face and my immediate thought was, "This is not a person." "Have you seen my son?" was all she said. And then poof, gone. Apparently there'd been a horrible accident on that road 20 years before. The woman was sort of a locally famous haunting. This is a basic tier lady in white haunted road story. Even I know that. Very short, no artful storytelling. But to actually experience it and have it in memory is personally a profound bit of knowledge to have about life in the world and the weirdness in it. I had another night gig as a janitor in a small hospital. Also some stories there, but I'll keep it to one for now.
Be me, 11 or 12, do not really remember age, but just ballparking it, spending the night at my aunt's house. As a kid, I was always super scared to be away from home, naturally on edge. I have a twin brother, so we spent the night there together, but he was a heavy sleeper, so it still felt like I was on my own most of the night. We watched TV and have ice cream, nothing special, basic bonding stuff. Eventually I went to bed, my aunt with her boyfriend at the time, and my brother and I in the living room on a couch and a love seat. I fell asleep around 10. I was a kid at the time. The living room is connected with the entryway and front door. Wake up around what I can assume was 1 to 2 a.m. The house is pitch black. She has really nice drapes, and I am scared of the dark. I really have to pee, turn my head so I am facing towards the entryway. I freeze, and my heart jumps to my throat. The house is pitch black, yet there is a sliver of light through the front door that reveals what looks like a lady dressed in all white standing completely still. I am literally scared out of my mind. I have to pee so badly, I just lay there stiff and still. I lay there for hours, but the lady in white does not go away. She continues to stand in place. I try to scream, but I cannot, and getting off the couch is not an option. I am so fucking frightened. The only time in my life I have felt like death was going to come soon. Suddenly, I look over and the lady in white is gone. This scares me even more, and I try to scream, but all that comes out is dry, raspy yelps. Suddenly, I can move again and I start to bawl. I am still too scared to get off the couch, just sob and try to yell, but cannot wake anyone up. I cry myself to sleep and wake up from my aunt shaking me. I start to cry the moment I wake up, try to tell her what I saw. She says it was probably just a coat reflecting strangely. Talk to my brother about it, and he says nothing. A couple of weeks later, we are playing video games and talking about Naruto. He suddenly goes quiet and I look over to him. Tears are rolling down his face and he is not moving. I shake him, he does not say anything. I call for my mom, panicked, and she comes upstairs without much urgency. I am crying at this point, wondering what the hell is going on. She starts to panic too, but tries to contain it and starts gently saying my brother's name. After about 3 minutes, he snaps back to reality and screams. But this scream is not normal. It is raspy and quiet. My mom hugs him in relief and later that day called a therapist. He starts regular sessions, goes to them until we are around 15. Eventually stops, tells me he has nothing to talk about anymore. One night we were at my friend's house. He has a bedroom in the basement next to a window. We ate a frozen pizza and went to bed. I woke up around 3 a.m., needing to pee. I am startled because my brother, who was sleeping on the opposite side of the floor, is sitting up and crying. I ask him what is up. He does not respond. I go over and he is still as stone, red-faced, crying. I shake him and slap him and he finally is out of his trance. He lets out that raspy, quiet scream. I ask him what happened. He tells me that this has been happening for years. I ask him if he sees anything. He points into the darkness. I tell him I cannot see shit. He says he sees a ghost. Oh shit. It all comes back to me at that moment. I had not thought about it for years. I ask him if it looks like a lady in white. He nods. I tell him I have seen it before too. He does not believe me at first, but I talk him through exactly what happened and convince him. After that night, we talked it out. He said it happened to him as often as weekly to once a month, and that it had not stopped since when we were kids. I asked him when it started, but he said it has happened too many times to remember. I say that it started to happen around the age of 11 or 12. He guesses that was the age it happened for him too. Over the next couple of months, we discussed it often, and he tells me it helped that someone else knows and it has not happened since that one night. Later in life, now we are around 18, getting ready to graduate high school. We grew apart once he got a girlfriend and started to devote most of his time towards her. We argue often, but since we are brothers, this is not unusual, but he got nasty at times. He told me things like he wished I would kill myself. Once in an argument, he said, "My life would be so much easier without you. It's either you or me." He started to go to therapy again, this time because he had swallowed every pill he could find in our bathroom cabinet one night. I asked my mom if she knows what is happening. She says he feels scared often, and I finally tell her about the lady in white. She looks surprised and tells me that she has had the same sort of thing happen to her, but that it had happened a few years ago after my great-grandma died. I asked my mom what her reaction was, but she said it only happened once and she passed it off as being too tired and seeing things. Time passes. One day after school, I come home with my brother, and he immediately runs to our room upstairs. I do not think much of it. Had a date that day, went out with the girl. My phone died while I was out, and I forgot a charger, but did not realize it had died until I was about to leave. I came back home and nobody was there. I plugged in my phone downstairs, called my mom, said she was out to a party with friends. My dad was not around at this point. They got divorced a few months earlier. Walk upstairs and flip on the lights. Saw the most horrifying thing I ever had, and this is sincerely difficult for me to write, so please bear with me. The first thing I saw was blood. Small droplets all over the floor leading to my brother's bed. There was a kitchen knife that was thrown on the floor next to his bed where blood was a bit thicker and congealed on the carpet. A chair was kicked on its side and there hung my brother. His face was bright red and he was struggling. I ran over and in his flailing he kicked at me, but I understood what he was trying to do. I wrapped myself around his legs and lifted with all my might, and he drew sharp breaths in, beginning to sob. Tears were rolling down my face at this point. I just held his legs while he breathed. I picked the chair back up and put it underneath his feet. He stood and fumbled with the noose that he had around his neck. I grabbed for the knife and sawed at it until it broke and came loose. We did not say anything, rather just sat there and cried. Eventually I caught my breath and asked him what the hell he was thinking. Anger was forming within me. I just cannot cope with it anymore. What the fuck do you mean? I see it every night and I want it to stop. I realize he is referring to the lady in white. He calms down, asks me not to tell my mom, and fills me in on it. He says he used to just see her every night, but now she started to talk to him and show him images of horrible things like burning people and disgusting shit. I do not really believe him at first, but he goes into sickening detail about how she flashed an image of a beheading to him. I start to believe him and hear the door open. It is my mom. She walks upstairs. She is instantly horrified and begins to scream bloody murder at my brother in anger and fear about the fact he just attempted to take his own life. I try to calm her down, and for the first time in her life, she punches me. She starts wailing on my brother, telling him that he is a dumbass, etc. I have never seen this side of her, but he yells back, and it is clear he has. He is getting bruised. I can tell she is actually trying to hurt him. If any of you have a brother, you would know what I am talking about. But I could not tolerate seeing him hurt like that. As hard as I can, I shake my mom. It's enough to knock her back to her senses. She starts to cry, probably realizing what she is doing, and we all do too. At this point, I realize how screwed up my family is. After this whole ordeal, we went to therapy and my mom got a personal therapist. We all opened up to each other about the white lady. My mom had seen it way more than one time and said that she did not want to worry me when I asked before. My brother said that was the only time my mom ever hit him like that, to my surprise, but I believed him. After a while, things cool down a bit. We start acting more like a family, but my brother is visibly afraid of my mom still. We start to talk a bit more and he says he wants to off himself. He says the white lady has come to him less frequently but still shows him horrible images that torture him at night. I do not really know what to say. Clearly, therapy did not work. Nothing really worked to rid him of those night terrors. After we had a long chat one night, we both went to bed. I was having a dream that was not really pleasant or unpleasant when suddenly in the dream, a child appeared in front of me. I could not control what I was doing, and I started to attack. I could not wake myself and was subject to watching myself in the first person brutally murder. I awoke scared, quickly tried to sit up but could only move my head. Standing next to my brother's bed was a woman dressed in all white, accompanied by a little boy in a small white suit. I was fucking petrified. Truly the most scared I have ever been, even more so than at my aunt's house that one night. I laid like that for hours, not daring to move a muscle. Eventually, I drifted back to a dreamless sleep. In the morning, my brother seemed happy and told me that he had not seen it last night. I did not dare tell him about what I saw, so I started looking up Woman in White. I read a few creepypastas but recognized that was not my situation, and it was just baiting, then stumbled upon /x/. At this point, I was seeing the woman in my sleep every night, and was just terrified of the nighttime in general. I never wanted to leave the house, and often took sleeping pills to knock myself out so I would not see her. My brother talked to me irregularly and said he had finally stopped seeing the woman. He did not know what triggered it, but life was worth living again. I started to want to off myself. /x/help because it made me feel I was not insane, but I started to plot my own death. One night I chugged a 750 milliliter bottle of vodka and tried to down pills but ended up just puking in the toilet all night. Now I am browsing /x/. I still sometimes see the lady, but she does not show me disgusting things as much. She has never spoken to me, but I feel like I know her, and I want nothing more than a solution. I'm legitimately desperate X-Files. I feel like I'm trapped in a cycle. Does anyone have any advice? I'm still fighting the urge. I'm 26 now, by the way, and both my mom and brother say they don't see anything anymore and live pretty happy, normal lives.
I sneaked out of my room one night to go over to my friend's house and watch movies. It was summer. It was 11 p.m. when I started, and I was 16 at the time. The whole time I left, I had felt like something was watching me, but I chalked that up to the sneaking out. There was a point where I had to cross a highway, Highway 99 in Northern California, from a grocery store parking lot and into a school field. This was to stay off main roads due to curfew. While I was in the grocery store parking lot walking toward the highway, I got a huge feeling of dread paranoia weight, as if the air got really thick and there were people following me. I just kept going. Then I got near the highway and I saw a lady in white flowing outfit. I don't know what, doing a sort of weird hula dance looking motion, but was hitchhiking in some odd way. Under my breath, I was like, "Oh, look at Stevie Nicks' evil twin," and laughed a little. Just as I laughed, the thing looked at me, and it seemed like its eyes were totally black. The air shifted its weight on me like a wave. The feeling of people walking behind me turned into a million small hands holding me. I froze in place and stood there in some weird stare with the thing for about 3 seconds before a semi slowed down to pick her up. The trailer of the semi passed where she was standing, and she was still there looking at me, but her gaze turned triumphant, and her face had a smirk on it, as if to say, "See, smart ass, it worked, and you can't do anything about it." It continued doing the weird hula-like movements and floated out of sight behind the semi to get in. The truck drove off, and the feelings all went away. It was just another hot summer night. I told my friend, and of course he called me a wuss. I have never seen this thing again, but it creeps me out to this day.
I was down on my luck and broke, but all my bills were paid and I had food in the cupboards. My roommate had come into some cash, but not a lot. Well, he said he'd buy me lunch if I took him to the casino. I agreed. The night before, I was thinking really hard about winning some cash, making up scenarios in my head and whatnot. Well, I can't remember if it was a dream or just me thinking, but I remembered a lady wearing white clothes, and I sat next to her. So it's the next day and we finished lunch and I decided to spend $20. That was pretty much all the cash I had. I walked around that casino looking for the lady in white and a machine I wanted to play. Sure, there were tons of ladies in white, but I was looking for that one by the machine I wanted to play. I found her. So I put in 10 and lost it all. Another 5, and as I was about to give up, but the machine hit. I won $100. I cashed out and gave the lady next to me my other 5 and gave her a hug. She was shocked, but excited for me at the same time. I then went looking for my roommate, but saw another lady in white by a machine that looked interesting. So I said screw it and dropped a few bucks into it, and it hit $20. So I made my original investment back plus $100. Did I will it? I don't know, but it sure does seem odd to me that it happened.
17-year-old me in El Salvador with my family. It's New Year, so my whole family is at the house just celebrating and shit. Uncle starts telling everyone a story about the lady in white. He's convinced that this lady is white comes in very often and haunts the house. At the time, I'm very skeptical, so I started making fun of this lady. I put a white cloth over my head and start screaming, "I am the lady in white," for the whole night and make family members laugh. Anyway, fast forward to about 3 hours later, it's 3 a.m. Everyone is going to bed, so I do too. The adults sleep in the rooms and the kids sleep in the living room and floors. Suddenly I get cold as hell as I'm trying to sleep, so I get up and realize the door to the backyard is open. I wake up my cousin to go close the door and he says, "All right." Suddenly I hear him let out a weird noise and he ran back to me. I tell him what happened and he says a woman in white is outside. Don't believe him, get up and go check myself. I was about 2 feet away from the door and I saw a lady in all white walk across the yard. She wasn't glowing, she wasn't transparent. It just looked like a lady dressed in all white walking across the yard. I scream 'cause I'm weak. Everyone comes out of their rooms and asks what was happening. Tell them what I just saw, and my uncle looked satisfied and had a "I told you so" look. All the kids end up sleeping in their parents' rooms because they were scared. At night we heard plates breaking and things being thrown in the kitchen. When we went to look, there was nothing there. Everything was the way we left it. My parents decided to leave and we slept in a hotel that night.
Driving home from work at 1 a.m. Decide to pick up some Everclear. Driving through a bad part of town to get to the store. Randomly see a little girl about 10 years old standing under a lamppost, holding a blanket and a teddy bear. Cell phone is dead, cannot call cops. Pull up to her and roll down my car window. "You all right? You should not be out here this late at night." She giggles and repeats what I say exactly word for word. Think nothing of it at the time. "Do you live nearby so I can take you to your parents?" Again repeats my words exactly with another giggle. What the fuck is going on? .jpg. Start to drive away. Look in the rearview mirror and she is gone. Get chills, think nothing of it. 1:55, I finally make my purchase and get back in my car. I realized I left my keys in the car, and it is locked. Wait, I never locked my car. See the girl in the passenger seat, her blanket is covered in blood and her teddy bear missing an arm and an eye. "Hey, what are you doing in my car?" Unlock the door. Click, the door is unlocked. Blink, open the door, and she opens the passenger door and begins walking down the street. Nope. .jpg. Drive straight home. 2 shots of Everclear. Laying in bed. Almost asleep. I hear giggling. Cleveland Brown, no. .avi. "You should not be out this late at night," she says with a smile. "Wake up in bed. I've cut marks on my body, but there is no blood. Took a week off of work to get my mind off of it. Have not touched Everclear since."
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.